Hi, it's been 3 weeks since my TLIF surgery, and hence quite a good time to give a bit of an update in terms of what's been happening. Very much a mixed bag, if I can put it that way. So let me start with the positives. Firstly, I've been back at work for a week now. For the first 3 days I worked from home, but I've actually been into the office a couple of times since, which means that I've driven for the first time as well, which has been very nice. It's fairly comfortable driving. I have no issues in terms of any pain in my back whilst driving. And going into the office, although I've only gone for kind of half a day at a time, I'm now reasonably comfortable sitting for an hour or so at a time as well, after which I have to get up and just move around a little bit. But obviously very confidence inspiring that I can now slowly start getting back to things that I was able to do prior to the surgery. In terms of exercise, firstly starting with walking, I've been able to walk more than 2.5 kilometers in one particular walk a couple of times now with no discomfort, and I reckon if I had to push it, I could even get up to 3 kilometers without being in any kind of discomfort or pain, which is nice. And I think I'll probably try the 3-kilometer walk at some stage over this coming weekend. I've also had a go at the stationary exercise bike for the first time. I was clear to do that from week 2 onwards. I did give it an extra 3 or 4 days before I tried it because I was a little bit nervous, but even that was very good. So of course not high intensity, going fairly slowly with the heart rate at kind of 60 to 70% of max heart rate. But it did feel really good to at least be able to do some cardio again after what I've been through over the last kind of 8 weeks or so. Moving on to the negatives, I guess. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about the pain I've had down my left leg and the kind of numbness in my left foot and the spasms I've had in my left glute. I'm very pleased to say that it has started to settle down. I can definitely feel the difference, but at the same time it does feel like there's still some ways to go before it is going to feel completely healed. And I'm hoping we kind of get to that point in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But as I mentioned before, based on the research I've done into nerve injuries and nerve healing, it does seem pretty normal. So if the nerve's been fairly heavily compressed for an extended period of time, it does take a while after the nerve has been decompressed to be able to then kind of get back to normal. The other thing I've noticed is I'm going to have to be fairly deliberate about the mental long game that I have to play through this rehab experience. What I mean by that is, leading up to the surgery, I couldn't wait to get in there and get the disc out just because I was just in so much pain. The first couple of weeks after the surgery is kind of like a honeymoon period where you're super happy with not feeling the nerve pain anymore on the one hand, and to a certain extent also being very, very impressed with just how well you're doing after the surgery and the kind of things you can do, which, as I mentioned, for me was well beyond what I was expecting to be at after 2 weeks. But at the same time, you then start thinking a little bit more as well, right? So things start getting back to normal slowly, you go back to work, and you start thinking about things like, which things won't I be able to do now that I've had this surgery? How's it going to impact on my life going forward? Will I be able to still play with my kids? Will I be able to do all the sports I was able to do previously? Then on to, was I too hasty with the surgeon I went with? Should I have shopped around a bit more to get different opinions? To, what happens if there's some sort of a failure of the implants that we put on my back? And, am I being too overzealous with the exercise and putting myself at risk, etc., etc.? So I think all these thoughts are kind of fairly normal. But what it is going to require is just some positive thinking and reinforcing the positive thinking. So just talk a little bit about what kind of works for me. I'm quite a big fan of hypnosis as kind of a mental relaxation technique and kind of positive thinking reinforcement. And that doesn't mean you have to go and see a hypnotherapist necessarily. I mean, I just downloaded some apps off the iStores such as HypnoCloud and Harmony. And you actually have some very nice sessions in there that deal specifically with pre-surgery prep, and then post-surgery healing, positive thinking, etc. But I think for the most part, it's all just about relaxation and calming the mind when you start getting some of these thoughts. So yeah, as I said, mixed bag of the last week or so, but at the same time also a fair bit of progress in terms of some new milestones that have been hit. So I'll leave it there for now, and I'll give you an update when we get to the 4-week mark. Thanks.